It's not quite Thanksgiving, and already the St. Louis Metro has seen hits of winter weather. Now we're giving you a detailed view of what you can expect in the rest of the winter months. Thank you for joining us for this Winter Weather Outlook special. I'm First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have team coverage tonight with the entire First Alert weather team, asking road crews their latest strategy to keep streets safe, as well as how you can prepare your home and car for the elements. First, we'll start with our Kent Earhart, looking back at some of our most extreme winters in St. Louis.
I've been in broadcasting for 40 years. I've worked in 4 different television markets, and I've visited a good chunk of the country. And I can tell you in that time that I've learned that every part of the country has the same saying. If you don't like the weather around here right now, just wait a few minutes and it will change. But here in America's heartland, we get just about every different kind of weather element that you can imagine. And we get the extremes, too. And a lot of that happens in the wintertime, which is why I thought it would be a good idea to look at some of the extreme winter weather events that we've had, be it flooding or drought or snow or cold.
And since it's winter, let's start with snow. The heaviest 24-hour snowfall on record for St. Louis was back on March 30th and 31st, 1890, when 20.4 inches of snow fell in 24 hours. Now, they didn't report snowfall totals back then, so this record is unofficial. The official record is 15.6 inches of snow in 1912. On March 24th and 25th back in 2013, we had 12.7 inches. That's the 7th highest 24-hour snowfall on record in St. Louis. But when you talk about snowstorms in this town, the conversation always turns to the so-called blizzard of '82. While technically not a blizzard, it was a monster of a storm. Starting as heavy rain on January 30th, everybody was concerned about flooding. But it changed over to snow, and the forecast was for just 4 inches. 13.9 inches were recorded at Lambert, but many parts of St. Louis and Jefferson County saw 1.5 feet, and Greenville, Illinois, recorded 2 feet of snow. Interstates and local roads were littered with abandoned cars and trucks, and the area was brought to a standstill for several days. The coldest day on record in St. Louis was on January 5th, 1884, when the mercury bottomed out at 22 degrees below zero. Back in 1978, we had 58 days at or below freezing. It's interesting to note that none of the 50 coldest temperatures were recorded in the 21st century. Now, you don't normally associate winter with flooding, but heavy rain the week after Christmas in 2015 caused the Mississippi River to rise to its 3rd highest crest on record. That led to at least 20 deaths in Missouri and Illinois. Eureka was hard hit with over 50 water rescues, and many homes and businesses and vehicles flooded. But it's the freakishly warm days that seem to be becoming more common. The warmest Christmas day on record in St. Louis was 71 back in 1889. On December 3rd last year, we were 76 degrees. It was 84 on February 1st, 1911, and 70 degrees on New Year's Day in 1965. Unfortunately, freakishly warm winter temperatures can often be accompanied by severe storms and winter tornadoes. Significant cold season tornado outbreaks include February 1959. 21 people were killed, and there was significant damage to the arena. On January 24th, 1967, an F4 tornado moved across northern St. Louis County, resulting in 3 fatalities and hundreds of damaged structures. And, of course, the New Year's Eve tornado in 2010 produced an EF3 tornado that touched down in Sunset Hills, resulting in a fatality and several injuries.
Historically, when tornadoes occur in the winter around the St. Louis region, there is a slightly better chance of it being a severe EF3 tornado or worse compared to the rest of the year. And that's what tragically developed on the evening of December 10th last year, when not 1, but 2 EF3 tornadoes struck the region. The Defiance tornado had estimated peak winds of 165 miles per hour. It destroyed 2 homes near Defiance, killing 1 person. In total, the path was 25 miles, and the tornado was on the ground for about 26 minutes. The tornado crossed the Missouri River 3 times. Now, rivers don't stop tornadoes. That's just a myth. Rivers are merely in the path, and this path came perilously close to more devastation. Only 300 yards from the St. Louis Premium Outlet Mall on a busy Friday evening before Christmas. Christmas. Minutes later, a new tornado quickly developed at I-270 and I-255 in Illinois. This one is short-lived with a path of only about 4 miles, but it hits with an estimated peak wind of 150 miles per hour. The tornado devastated this Amazon facility, caving in walls, tossing cars, taking down electric towers. It was only over this facility for about 14 seconds. Yet sadly, 6 people lost their lives. It was the deadliest tornado in the St. Louis metro in 62 years. The Edwardsville and Defiance tornadoes are a sobering reminder that we need to be prepared and alert to severe weather at any time of the year. Now, step 1 is to make sure you have a plan on where to go at home, work, school, or church. And step 2 is have multiple ways to get warnings, like a NOAA weather radio and the KMOV weather app. When winter weather does strike, much of our focus turns to road conditions. News 4 went to the experts. See what our Matt Chambers found out when he asked crews from both sides of the river how they tackle slick streets.
Here are some things that you are guaranteed to find in St. Louis. The Arch, Budweiser, Emos, Gooey Butter Cake. It still feels like we're forgetting something.
I think they're horrible.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
I think they could have salted it a little better, pre-treated it for sure.
Opinions.
They should have pre-treated, in my opinion.
So many opinions on road conditions when winter storms hit. But executing a game plan to tackle our toughest winter storms is not quite as easy as a lot of those Monday morning quarterbacks might have you believe. Holy cow, this came on fast.
We tend to be a little more aggressive.
Joseph Monroe has been battling fierce winter storms in the Metro East for 22 years. He's an operations engineer with the Illinois Department of Transportation. You've seen his face on News 4 many times, usually when the weather is particularly nasty. I started our conversation with a hot-button issue, pre-treating.
Everyone thinks the pre-treat is a panacea. It's not. There are risks with it. If it was perfect, everyone would do it before every storm.
Consider this. If you put down a liquid pre-treat before or during a powdery snow that's blowing and drifting, well...
I have now basically put glue on the pavement. Now, all of a sudden, what should be blowing off the pavement is now sticking. And not only is it sticking, as it's blowing across, it's melting and freezing. So now I've created a situation that should have been very, very benign. So now I have a skating rink.
And if it rains before the snow arrives, well, that's going to wash all that liquid pre-treatment away. But in those cases, road crews have another tool at their disposal. They'll send their trucks with rock salt out in the rain. They'll put some salt down, and as the rain falls on the salt, it makes a brine so that when the snow does eventually arrive, it'll start to melt on contact.
We're actually using our trucks during that mix, and we're using the rock salt and letting Mother Nature make our own brine.
And yes, rock salt still plays an important role, but it has limitations too.
Rock salt at about 19 degrees, all things being equal, essentially slows to an absolute crawl. But it's going so slow, it doesn't do us any good.
Blowing and drifting of snow can be a huge headache for road crews, and wide open spaces can make it worse. But then again, so can large buildings like these.
And even our large warehouses sometimes present a challenge. The wind will blow the snow off of the roof. Illinois 255 is notorious for, if the wind's in the right direction, you can have it cleared. And as soon as that truck goes, a nice gust of wind will cover it right behind it.
Joe says consistency of road conditions is a top priority, even if that means all the roads are covered.
I would much rather be snow covered everywhere than be very sporadic. If I had everyone relatively the same, you don't get those speed differential crashes, you don't get the unexpected.
One final bit of advice: if you wind up behind a plow, consider yourself lucky.
You do have a winning lottery ticket in your hands. The pavement behind that plow is a heck of a lot better than what it is in front of that plow. So if you're behind it, chemicals on the pavement, probably liquids on the pavement, and that plow scraped it off before those liquids and the chemical got put on the pavement. Don't crowd the plow and don't pass it unless you absolutely have to.
When the temps drop, it can be tricky keeping your home warm and safe. In recent years, we've seen an effort to stay warm turn deadly. Meteorologist Kristen Cornett spoke to fire crews about the best practices this winter.
Last year we had about 3,500 people die from home residential fires. 3 out of 5 of those deaths did not have a working smoke detector in the house.
Smoke detectors should be replaced every 10 years, minimum.
Call the St. Louis Fire Department, and we'll come out and give you a new smoke detector.
And you should be checking your smoke detectors once per month, just to make sure they work.
Our busiest months, our most deadly months across the country, December, January, and February, because of the cold weather. We can link 80% of the home residential fires to one thing: space heaters. They put them in the middle of a room, children leave blankets by them, pillows, pets come by, knock them over. There's all kinds of issues. We see a fire death or two in the city every year because of portable space heaters. In my opinion, they shouldn't be used at all.
Another cold weather danger is carbon monoxide.
The St. Louis Fire Department also has carbon monoxide detectors. It's another instrument you should check once a month. You just have to have a working carbon monoxide detector if you're using a gas-powered generator. The carbon monoxide buildup, odorless, tasteless, you can't see it. If those detectors go off, call us.
Still ahead on this Winter Weather Outlook special. Preparing your car can be just as important as preparing your home from winter weather. The items you don't want to be without if your car gets stranded. And when it comes to forecasting snow, the First Alert Weather Team analyzes all the model data. But according to folklore, all you need is a sign from this small creature to tell you what's to come. But first, before the break, let's ask some winter weather trivia. How much heavier is wet snow versus dry snow? About the same? 2 times as heavy? 3 or 4 times as heavy? Coming up after the break, I'll have the answer and explanation.
Winter Weather Outlook, sponsored by Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back. Well, here's our first winter weather trivia question. How much heavier is wet snow versus dry snow? The answer, about 3 times as heavy. So wet snow makes for good snowmen and snowball packing, but dry snow is fluffy and light. And give you an idea of how heavy this is, if you had 12 inches of snow over a 1,500 square foot home on the roof, that would be like the weight of a pickup truck, about 6,000 pounds. But with wet snow, it would be like 3 pickup trucks, almost 19,000 pounds. Tonight, items you may never need, but when you do, you never want to be caught without them. Here are some things you'll want to keep in your car for the winter, according to AAA Missouri. You'll need a snow brush or ice scraper, ice melt, kitty litter, or sand, something that will give your car some traction if your car gets stuck. And if you do get stuck, you'll want some items that can help you stay warm, including gloves, blankets, socks, and boots. And also be sure to have jumper cables ready just in case of a faulty battery. What do persimmon seeds and woolly worms have in common? Well, some people think they can predict the weather. Our Leah Hill puts those theories to the test.
How bad is it going to be?
A question you might find yourself asking about the winter season.
How much snow? I want good dog walking weather.
The News 4 First Alert Weather Team is investigating all the data. But is the answer really as simple as folklore?
I think Mother Nature reads the signs.
We're investigating some of nature's clues, including looking at the seeds of a persimmon fruit.
This might work.
According to the folklore, cutting open the seed of a locally grown persimmon fruit will tell you whether to expect lots of snow, winds, or a mild winter, depending on if the seed is shaped as a spoon, knife, or fork. We found our seeds at the Missouri Botanical Garden.
That's real obviously a spoon.
Dan Zarlinga with the Missouri Department of Conservation confirmed the shape.
If you look at the woolly worms prediction, you'll find they tell a different story.
Wide brown stripes on a woolly worm means mild winter. Wide black stripes mean a bad winter.
I think we can listen to the woolly worm.
This woolly worm was found at Forest Park. The stripe is thick and brown. News 4 viewers have found their own worms from Washington, Missouri to Jerseyville, Illinois. With a few outliers, most of the worms agree that we'll have a mild winter.
You have the persimmon seeds that are showing a spoon and saying we're going to have a hard winter with a lot of snow. And we have the woolly worms that don't have a lot of dark segments that are saying we're going to have a mild winter. So I guess we have a contradiction here?
The contradictions stack up. Our leaves fell early, supposedly meaning the winter will be mild. Some are noticing busy squirrels, which indicates a harsh winter. Do any of these sayings hold truth?
It doesn't stand up to scientific scrutiny or repetition. People were trying to find some way to feel like they had some way to predict the weather.
Bottom line, I wouldn't place your winter expectations on worms or seeds. Leah Hill, News 4.
Still ahead, a detailed look at what this winter will look like in St. Louis and how what's happening 3,000 miles away impacts you. Now on to our next trivia question. Freezing rain is caused by warm air on the ground. True or false? We'll have the answer and explanation right after the break.